What's up, folks? Welcome to SHU Outdoors. My name is Mick. This is my co-host Scully, and this right here is my little girl, little Spitzy. She's a good little girl. She's got a cool mohawk, and today we're gonna do some hardcore New York City urban stealth camping, and we're gonna discuss the Epstein, the whole that debacle that happened in the SHU at MCC downtown Manhattan. I was in that SHU two or three times over the course of about 13 months. So we're going to get into that. What's up, little Speedy? Say hi to the camera. You a shy girl? Well, I let her down, let her go back to her mom. I'm a shy girl. And before we go any further, first things first. Let's don't forget the men and the women who are down but are not forgotten. This is for you. Nice pre-roll tonight. A good skunk, chronic, sativa, prescribed to me legally. Follow my doctor's orders. So let's go ahead on and get into it, folks.
Welcome to SHU Outdoors.
Well, we practice the motto of be ready so you don't gotta get ready.
And on this episode,
Hey, I love you. I love all you guys. As you can see, the sun's coming up more. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day, but I think Mother Nature has another agenda for later on today, and we'll ultimately see how it plays. Hot coffee coming up. So this is Camp 13. It's about 4:30 in the morning. So I got my bag partially unpacked. I'll figure out how to put it back together in the next hour or so. I have no intentions of taking this tarp right now. I don't want to carry it for another whole day. It served its purpose. It served its purpose well. I only have so far used it one time. I used the hunting blind one other time previous to this. And I guess it did its job good enough at that time. So the tarp and the hunting blind, I only used them one time. I had to carry them around for like 12 days, I think, before I used them. Was it worth the weight that I ended up carrying for 12 days before I actually used them? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, probably, because it definitely has afforded me a certain amount of privacy. So my basic plan is I only got one more day of camp. So this is day 13. It's a 14-day challenge. So my basic idea is I'm just going to leave these where they're at. If they're here tonight, I'll use the same campsite. If they're not here tonight, I'll go across the FDR and camp out at the East River. The main reason why I camped out here last night, I think I said, was I think I had informed you guys because it was raining, and it did rain, and you got some thunder, I think, last night. I recorded it for you, and there were some people hanging out in here with me. Yeah, it is what it is when you're stealth camping. That's the type of things, you can look forward to in the real world, I guess it's I guess it's one thing when you're doing like a one stealth camp type of thing, a venture. It's a lot more controlled. But when you're exhausted and you're tired and you're just looking for a place to lay down, sometimes things happen. 13 days into the 14-day challenge. It has been challenging. It has been very challenging. Doable, but I would definitely say more challenging than most people may anticipate. And enjoyable. Absolutely. It's been enjoyable. It's been fun. I'm definitely glad I had the opportunity to do it. I would do it again if it was my first time. I anticipated a lot of the challenges that would come my way because I am an avid hiker, an avid camper, and avid stealth camper, explorer. So yeah, I had intended to launch a YouTube channel previous to this, but I knew with all the things going on in YouTube, as far as like there's a lot of good content out there, and if you're going to compete with these guys, you got to do something to let everybody know that I am a pretty serious stealth camper and hiker. And right from the beginning. So that's the reason why I chose to do this 14-day New York City stealth camp, to kind of get people's attention, and we'll see how it plays from here. I am an avid stealth camper. I am an avid explorer, and I love ghost hunting and stuff like that. My whole theory when it comes to ghosts, there probably are things that goes bump in the night. Now, I'm not saying that there's millions of things or trillions of things roaming around every night going bump, but it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if there are certain things in our world that go bump in the night. And I'm intrigued by it more than fearful of it, I guess. If I was going to fear something, it'd be a fellow human being potentially with a weapon. That's something I'd maybe very mindful and fearful of. Something that's trapped in a dark basement or some other horrible place, I feel more sympathy for that situation than I would feel fear. Imagine being trapped in a lonely, dark basement somewhere for who knows how long, and you're just down there, and anybody that comes down there, you desperately try to communicate with them, but they always end up being freaked out, and whatever's down there is frustrated. So my goal isn't, if I was to get into ghost hunting, isn't to make a mockery out of it. It's kind of to try to understand how could something like that happen. How could an entity of some type be trapped somewhere, and maybe unable to go anywhere but there. Maybe that's why they're so frustrated. So if you went down there with, or wherever these entities may roam, and maybe went in a respectful way, not in like, hey, I want to be best friends way, but hey, like, what's going on with you, man? How'd you find yourself in this situation? That'd be a cool ghost hunting idea, as far as like a YouTube thing. I don't know where this YouTube channel will go. I can guarantee it's going to go somewhere dealing with stealth camping, ghost hunting, and things along those lines. Yeah, my backpack's been pretty heavy the last couple of days, so I'm going to try my best with some of the stealth gear that I brought, just to leave it where it's hanging, and hopefully it'll be here tonight. If it's not the biggest loss in the world. I definitely will take more care with my sleep pad I don't intend to take that with me around today neither. I'm going to try to find my best to find somewhere to stash it. The only way I'll take it with me if I don't find somewhere that I feel like 99.9% confident it'll be there tonight when I come back for it. A lot of times I'll carry brightly colored items like this in my pack. Why? Because they're easy to identify. I know I have certain things in this brightly colored pack. I have certain things in this dark colored pack. I have a little bowl that I do use for soups and stuff, but I also use it for storage. And a pretty standard gray man look. You know, I swear by these things. They're so lightweight, portable, easy to put together. Got the striker right in it. Heats up a cup of water in a couple of minutes for a soup or a coffee, etc. I always carry a lot of bandanas because bandanas are good for a lot of things. And not only wiping the sweat off your face, but also using as a wash rag. You can wet them down and you know, wipe yourself down. You know, it becomes necessary. Again, I always pack out everything I pack in. I make it my business to always have a bag or some kind of container that I can put everything in, so I don't leave a mess anywhere I go, man. And I always carry these coffees because I can get by with a lot of things, but there's some things that it's hard for me to get by without, and coffee is right at the top of that list. Well, the boots to serve me well. They are, you know, they're a little big, and a sneaker would definitely have been more comfortable. But being in a hardcore urban environment like this, never knowing what you're going to come across or deal with, I felt more comfortable with the composite toe boot. It has served me well. And that's, even though, yeah, I have incurred a few little uncomfortable spots on my feet because I've been wearing those boots. As we're into day 13 and there's no major, you know, damage to my feet. And I probably could have got by with sneakers this time around, but it could have been a different weather type of situation, and those boots could have come in handy. So if I had to make the choice again, I'm pretty sure I would wear the boots again. And you can see this right here is just a single wall water container. Very rarely do I use it to heat up anything in. I'll use the cup instead. Pour the water into the cup, then use the cup. Yeah, man, I try my best to keep it simple. I've ended up ditching some gear that I thought might be helpful, but it wasn't. And when I get back home, I'll give you the full pack out of what I actually used the whole time, and a few items that I may have left behind, but I wouldn't have left them behind if I wasn't coming home. They were useful. So what I thought I would need as opposed to actually what I did need and use, I'll give you a full pack out of that once I get home, why I kept it, how I used it, why it was important, etc., etc. So, you know, we can all use this as maybe a little learning experience. And hey, man, it's all good. So I hope you have enjoyed the challenge so far. And we still got, I'll get on the bus today is Thursday morning, which is the beginning of day 14. I'll get on the bus Friday at 7 o'clock here in Hudson Yards in Manhattan, and go back down south. FLA's calling my name, baby. But so yeah, that'll be I got basically about another 36 hours of being here in the city in survival mode. I'm going to stealth camp one more time tonight, which will be the 14th stealth camp. The only way I'll be in this place here tonight is if it's raining. Otherwise, I have no intentions of camping out here again. Even though, yeah, it has some comforts involved, it smells like a latrine. And that's the main reason why I'm up here on the second landing. Try to get off of anything down there, because I'm sure it's inundated with decades of urine
and other who knows what bodily substances. So it smells horrible. And who knows what kind of energy could be in here. I really don't know. I would imagine a lot of bad things could have happened in here over the decades. You figure this building's been here for decades. It's a projects building right down here on the edge of FDR Drive. And this at one time was considered an extremely, for years, decades. This was an extremely, for lack of a better word, seedy neighborhood. A lot of illegal substances were sold down here. A lot of gang activity took place down here. Yeah, this is the thick of it. It's changed quite a bit. Quite a bit. Maybe we'll explore around a little down here today, just for the heck of it. So now that you know what's going on, you see my camp, my little dog pillow. Yeah, that place is to my head, and it's a lot of weird energy comes from down there. It seems to me anyway. But I ain't tripping. Like I said, I'd be much more concerned about the living potentially with a weapon than I would some trapped entity. So I'll keep you posted. Please stay tuned, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.
So, if you're still here after stealth camping, I hope you enjoyed it. And I imagine that you're interested to potentially get into this whole Epstein thing, right? So, the short version. I was arrested by the FBI 2012, sent to MCC, Manhattan, Southern District of New York. My last three federal numbers are 054. That signifies what district you were apprehended and ultimately prosecuted and sentenced in. So, yeah, I spent about 13 months there in MCC, downtown Manhattan, which is relatively close to Wall Street and all that, and federal court, all that's right there. And yeah, it was something, man. Yeah, I ended up in that shoe 2 or 3 times. I forget. I think 3 times in the course of those 13 months. At that time, when you got sentenced, you would stay in MCC until you got sentenced. When you got sentenced, you would go to MDC Brooklyn. Now, since then, they've closed down MCC, and everybody goes to MDC Brooklyn. Before, it was for the Eastern District of New York and transit. Everybody would go through there, going up to the Northeast and going down wherever, It was a pretty big transit hub. So they got more of a detention for the whole city of New York now, kind of like a federal Rikers Island. So you can imagine it'd be a kind of wild place to be. But let's talk about the shoe and the way things work in the shoe and bigger and broadly the federal system. All right. So this is the thing. In the Fed system, you have people from all over the country. You also have officers from all over the country. And people routinely transfer in and transfer out, and there's movement and so on. So and another important element, right? In the whole federal correctional system, right? If an officer is given an order by a lieutenant, unless it's something just outright illegal, but they're just going to do it. Like, there's not going to be a whole bunch of back and forth, like, hey, do that, take that guy to the hole, or go in there and shake that cell down. Now, it depends what kind of, sometimes they go hard, sometimes they're a little mellow, but, you get the whole range, So, if a lieutenant just because the shoe is usually it's like it's a midway point for a lot of officers because you ain't got enough time in to have like a housing unit or even better yet like a supply depot unit or something like that where you're around 4 or 5 low security type of prisoners and everything's cool, you know what I mean? And then when you first start, you're going to be in the housing units, the mess hall, compound, whatever, emptying the garbage in the different blocks on lockdowns, and obviously more security, more seniority the officer get, that he can start bidding for jobs, and then you got to have a certain amount of years in before you can bid for certain jobs. So that's kind of the way that works there. So I went through all that to say if a lieutenant told a shoe officer that worked the shoe regularly 5 days a week or 4 days a week, whenever their schedule is, you've been reassigned over here to C block. You're not in the shoe tonight. You know what? You know that's going to happen. That officer will be like, "Are you serious?" And they'd be, "Yeah, that's your assignment for tonight. We'll get back to you tomorrow night with any updates." And you know what's going to happen? The officer's going to get their stuff and they're going to C block. You got going to be a bunch of back and forth and really, yeah. So, and because officers and prisoners in a big, so MCC, a little caveat, MCC or MDC, there's about 10 or 12 of them throughout the United States: Miami, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco. I'm pretty sure quite Atlanta. Um, um, yeah, so there's quite a few of them. And before we go any further, let's put a little dip in. Yeah, so there's quite a few of them. And the difference between those and just getting busted and held in federal custody, if you get busted in a rural area or somewhere like that, it's likely that the U.S. Marshals are going to have a contract with local county jails and stuff. And that's where they're going to keep you. You're still in federal custody, but you're in a little different position than, say, if you was busted in one of the big major cities that have MCCs. You're going to be in an MCC, which is basically a federal detention center for pretrial detainees and people transferring around and stuff. So, yeah. So, it would not. First of all, I have no idea really what happened with Epstein. I wasn't there, so I can't speak to that. So maybe nothing happened, and the official story is what the actual story. I don't know. But there is one more way that it could be done. You figure you got certain federal agencies who handles witness security, protective custody, all that type of stuff. The United States Marshal, witness protection, all that stuff. That's their preview. So obviously, Epstein could be, considered someone who may need, protection or whatever. I don't know, but if you're dealing with a federal agency who knows exactly how another federal agency trains in that same department under the United States Department of Justice, FBI, and they ain't nothing to mess with. Them serious boys right there now. You don't want to tangle with you don't want to tangle with them bad boys because they play by a whole different set of rules, right? So you got them, you got the BOP, the Bureau of Prisons, the ATF, the list, all these alphabet agencies, and it's all under the Attorney General, which is the U.S. Department of Justice, right? So it's certain agencies who are more clandestine. They got access to the exact training manuals for federal COs, exact uniforms, the exact everything. So if the lieutenant got an order from somebody, he's not going to question it. He's just going to reassign these officers. It could be an investigation. Maybe somebody's smuggling something into the jail or something, and they're worried about that. So they could just reassign. It's not something it don't happen every day, but it's not something that would be extremely, unusual. You know what I mean? It does happen every now and again. So the officer's just going to get his lunchbox and go over there, and now you'll have whoever shows up in whatever uniform to know the exact rules, the procedures, got the proper ID, the proper uniform, etc., so on. And then what they would have did is they would have cleared the range, and what that means is they would have moved everybody off of that range, or if the range wasn't that clear, because the order could have come, hey, empty the range in the morning time. They ain't going to tell the officers what for. They're just going to double everybody up, leave Epstein there by himself. I don't know, but that's the way of very well. Just leave him there by himself. The second shift comes on, but it ain't normal officers, it's the special officers they send in there. All right, so now Epstein is isolated on what they call a walk. So in the feds and the shoe, and specifically in MCC Manhattan, there were 4 cells on either side and a shower. All right, and they were all 2-man cells. So you go to the shoe, they put you in a cell with somebody, or if you're already in there, you get a cellie, or you could ride solo for a day or 3. Who knows how to play. But that's the way that plays out. So yeah, I mean, somebody could have definitely went in there and did a dirty deed, and there would have been no way to trace it because I mean they are part of the federal government. They know exactly what the procedure is, and somebody could call somebody. Order goes out. Okay, everybody's being reassigned. These guys from Connecticut, yeah, all right, buddy. This guy's from wherever he's. Everybody's two or three was transferring in that night. And ain't nobody never seen them, but that's not unusual either because it's a federal system. It's nationwide. People go here and work, transfer prisoners there, transfer guards there, coming and going. So it wouldn't be anything that was unusual or necessarily out of play. The SIS, which is Special Investigative Services, and SIA, which is Special Administrative um, um, some of them are very along the same lines, but they investigate the administration, crooked cops, people smuggling stuff in, so on and so forth. And SIS concentrate on inmate misbehavior and investigation. So that's the way the system's set up. So it's just a nationwide system. Somebody could have definitely gotten there and did it some dirty. I went up there about 2 or 3 times, man. Yeah, it was. I think it was three. Yep, and it was. I mean, it was at that time there. They would give you. Okay, so when you go to the hold in the feds, you're not on any sanctions yet until you see what they call the DHO, which is a disciplinary hearing officer, and that could take anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. All right, so when you see that's when you could be when you get your hearing in court. You know, they take, hey, you want to got the hearing officers here. You want to go down there and hear it and be yeah, and then you go down there and then you check everything. Yeah, and then they find you guilty, and then you on official punishment. All right, no commissary, no phone, this and that, and the next thing. Right, so that's the way that works. But when you first back in them days when you first got there, if whenever the commissary ran every week, they would give you a commissary sheet, just put it through your door, and they had AD or 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 you get a regular sheet, or your sheet's only got like cosmetics and stamps on it because you own what they DC, yeah, disciplinary sanctions. Yep, DS, disciplinary sanctions. So you get the restricted commissary sheet, but you can still get all that stuff and then trade it all over the rest of the range. It just makes it more difficult, and it depends on which cell you're in. You crack under the door, you can get stuff under. But stamps goes real quick. So that's always a good item because that's also like actual currency. It's actually, if you think about it, an official small paper item from the United States government says it's worth 50 cents or 60 cents, whatever it costs now. So it's like a value attached to it, and it's small and it's easy to stash. So you can have 6 or 8 or 10 books of stamps, and they got compound books and they got flat books. Compounds obviously been passed around; they're a little rusty and crusty, but they're still a stamp. And then a flat book is obviously what it implies. It's fresh from the commissary, and you can use it to send letters with and stuff. So yeah, so yeah, could have something happened to Epstein? I would say yes. Something definitely could have happened about Jeffrey Epstein. That shoe was. It wasn't. I wouldn't say. The difference was that, but and them and the MCCs and the MDCs, it's going to be mostly people from that city, which is kind of a bad thing if you got gangs in that city beefing with one another. But it's also different in the way that everybody kind of understands the way everybody thinks. Once you get sentenced and you go into the actual federal system, and my first stop was Canaan, United States Penitentiary, Canaan, okay? That was something a whole nother level of special, right? That was straight up. We got something for your ass, okay? I thought I was ready, but I learned more than a thing or two when I got to Canaan. I learned about a lot of stuff. Okay, that was a whole nother rock and roll show. And then, yeah, it just turned into a ping pong show after that, man, because I was in a bad spot and it was all bad. And anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to move on. What I'm going to do is at some point in the relatively near future, I'm going to build a bag that if I had pursuers on my bumper, all right, and I needed to get low real quick and have all the basics that I would really need to at least get 2 or 3 days out right from the jump. All right, and just keep on moving. Okay, now I ain't packing for rescuing or signal. Now I'm not giving you packing advice or what you should or shouldn't do, and please use your best judgment. But these bags are going to be designed for good, solid, basic medical. Okay, yeah, and a water a water filter. This one doggone best little radios. I mean, I went through a lot of these radios, and this one right here don't even have a name on it, man. And it's not even branded. That's how badass it is, for sure. And it does everything. It's got the wind up on it. I went through three or four of these trying to get it the one I wanted, and all the rest of them turned out to be more or less a flop. But this one right here is the real deal. Got the crank on it, and it actually works. It's not a dud. It's got the solar on it. It actually works. It's not a dud. It's got a good flashlight on it. Yeah, and it's got the shortwave and the AM and FM. Yep, and I can also put batteries in it, which I would carry with me. 3 AAA, so you carry 6 of them if you was really planning on getting low, just to give you something if it turns into overcast, rainy weather or something for a week or something. Shit happens, you know what I mean? I like to be prepared. I don't overly prepare. I don't necessarily obsess with it. What made me into a prepper, okay, and I wouldn't even say a prepper. I'd say somebody who just tries their best to get as far out ahead of the game as I possibly can with what I got to work with. You know what I'm saying? So I'm cheap, and I try to build everything for myself unless it's something that I just can't build, like a water filter or a speaker, or a radio. Or don't forget about this. This is the ultimate knife. Okay, it does everything you need a knife to do under any circumstances, and nothing you don't need a knife to do. Okay, this right here is a good backpack knife. A good let's get out of here knife, because you can use it for all kind of woodcraft, bushcraft, and it's really sharp. You can use it for whittling, chopping. It's also good for knife fighting. I mean, that's the reason why it became such a huge hit. Good thing about it is you can file it down up here, and it's called a knife that cuts twice. All right? Now, this right here is a heck of a knife right here. It definitely gets the job done. So that's what I want to do, is I want to explore alternative means of getting going, okay? Let's start thinking outside the box. All right, hardcore urban and or super rural. We just gonna keep moving, okay? And we're gonna do it lightweight. We're gonna emulate Napoleon's men, okay? Everybody. That's why they were so really good, because they were all moving. They had their stuff on their back, and they were just appropriating things along the way if possible. You know what I mean? They were moving, and that's what made them so lethal as a fighting force. And same way with the Mongols. You know what I mean? They were all mounted on horseback. Same way with the Comanches. All right. Okay, those were some extreme. Like, yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with that. Somewhat Southwest Indian Chicano peoples, yeah, and California and Texas, My original intent was to card camp for 45 days straight in New York City. I lived in New York City for approximately 28, 27, 30, 29 years, a long time. And I wanted to go back and film a video series. So obviously when I thought the idea up, I said, what would be the most comfortable way that I could do it and still get a whole lot of really cool, interesting footage? So the first thing that occurred to me was to take this fine Chevy Trailblazer that I got, outfit it out a little bit, and drive it to New York City from sunny Central Florida, and do it that way. I thought on it for a while, and I said, well, maybe a better way to do it would be